Hello everyone, I'm Yael Levy-Morantz and I'm an Israeli dance teacher in Vancouver, Canada. And today I want to talk about learning a dance from a video. Many times in our classes and in our sessions, we tell our dancers to either review or learn a dance from a video. And luckily, most of Israeli dances can be found on YouTube or on the Rokdim website. But learning from a video can be challenging for some people, and they're not quite sure how to do it. So that's what I want to teach you today, a strategy on how to learn from a video. When coming to teach a dance, we usually use a strategy called chunking. And this is a memorization technique where a dance is broken into parts and subparts or sections that the teacher decides on, and each chunk is repeated until the dancers are comfortable with it, until they memorize it, and then the whole dance is put together into one. The strategy of chunking can also be applied to learning from a video on your own, and I will teach you how to do it. There are some differences to be aware of between learning it at the session from a teacher and learning from a video. The teach video is usually what we call a walkthrough, which is a very quick demonstration of the steps without pausing or repeating a step that can be more challenging for some people. A lot of the videos come from Israel, so the teach is often done in Hebrew. Sometimes the terminology is different than what you're used to. Sometimes some instructors don't even call out the steps. Some videos are also available only with the music and not with the teach. So if that's the case, you can still use the strategy. So here is a step-by-step guide on how to learn from a video. You should keep in mind that we are all different learners, so you need to know yourself and what works best for you, which comes with just trying different strategies. If you are a fast learner, or if this is a review for you of a dance you've already learned, you might not need all of the steps that I'm going to show. For the purpose of this tutorial, I'm going to use the video of Kotel HaMizrach. It was created by Rokdim and it's available on YouTube. So the first step is to watch the dance with the music. Most videos that have both teach and music will usually, not always, but often, will start with the teach at the beginning and then move on to the music. So if that's the case, you'll need to find the part, you need to scroll through the video to find the part with the music. So here is Kotel HaMizrach. I'm going to turn it on, and this one starts with a teach. I'm going to scroll through it until I find, usually it would have another title of the dance once the music starts, and here it is. I just found it. While watching the video with the music, note a few things. First, what is the structure of the dance? How many parts does it have? You can usually detect parts in the differences between the verse and the chorus, or sometimes between two verses. You really hear the change in the music, and you can see the change in the dance as well. And the same goes for subparts within each part. How many times does the dance go through? Does it repeat? Sometimes there are differences between the repetitions. For example, the first time through a dance, part one would repeat twice. The second time through, part one would only be once. So this is something to note. Also, what is the rhythm of the dance? Is it 4/4s? Is it a waltz? This is a clue that can kind of help you know what kind of steps to expect. What is the tempo? Is it fast? Is it slow? Can you detect anything special in the music that matches the steps? Sometimes you hear in the music, pa pa, and then the dance goes pa pa with the feet. So these are all cues in the music that will help us remember the dance every time we hear it. We kind of extract that from the music. Also, Can you recognize any steps or sequences that you already know? For example, things that repeat in a lot of dances are step, step, cha-cha, or open cross, Yemenite, or even a segment. Sometimes we see, especially with classic dances, they kind of make their way into contemporary dances in slight variations. So it might be a whole sequence from a different dance that you can recognize. This will help you a lot to remember the dance and to learn the dance. Okay, so now let's look together at the video with the music and try to find the parts. Here it is. They're starting, facing the line. This is part one, obviously. And now they're doing something different, but the music is the same. It's still part of the verse, so this is probably broken into sub-parts. And then it's repeated. So part one has sub-part, so this is part 1A, I would call it. And this, with the turn, the change, is part 1B. We saw that part one repeats twice. And this is a clear change in the music. This is a chorus, so this is part two. And it repeats. Part two repeats. But this is different. This is something different at the end of part two after the second time. And then they're going back to part one. So I'll pause here. You can keep watching it on your own. And I noticed two parts. Part one had part 1A, part 1B, and then part two repeated twice, but at the end of the second time, there's a slight difference. So this is something that I noted. Next, we'll use this method of chunking with the teach video. So we want to scroll back to the beginning to where the teach starts. Now, when you come to chunk a dance, it's important that you do that by parts. So we'll start with chunking part one. We'll finish that. Then we'll do part two. Then if there's a part three, and so on. And that it also matches your needs. For example, for me, I would start when I come to chunk part one, I would chunk it by subparts, part 1A, part 1B. But you might need something different. Maybe you want the whole part one all at once, or even smaller chunks, like even a bar of 8 counts. So whatever works for you. Our first step when we come to chunk part one is to watch the first chunk. For me, it's part 1A, with the video while calling out the steps. So let's try whatever steps you can recognize. So let's try doing that with the video. Walk, walk. Okay, so she walked on 2, and then she did kind of a hop and a cross. To me, it looks like a box, but only with 2 counts rather than 4. So I would call it a box on 2, a Yemenite, and a rock, rock. And then she repeated the same thing. Here, let's watch with the left. Box on 2, Yemenite, rock, rock. And then she repeats it. Watch it again. This is great. The next step would be to watch it again, call out the steps, and then move your feet with her while you're sitting and watching, and you'll be able to see my feet here on the screen. So let's scroll back, or actually now she's going to repeat it. So let's see. Here we go. Walk, walk, box on 2, Yemenite, rock, rock. 1, 2, box on 2, Yemenite, rock, rock. And that's where part 1A ends. This method helps you connect the movement and the auditory cues to help with memorization. So this is an important step. Now you want to try to dance the chunk without the video, just on your own. Call out the steps again and see what you can remember. Again, this is really helpful with the whole process of memorization, and again, connecting the movement with the auditory cues. The last step is to dance the chunk with the video. So we'll place our device in a way that we can see it, we can glance at it while we dance, but we want to try to do it without relying on it. So we only glance when we feel like we need it. This again will help connect your movement and teach you to trust yourself. So it's another important step in memorizing a dance. This is actually a good tip for learning in general, in the session as well, with a teacher or with someone you follow. Try not to rely on them. Try not to watch them constantly, but only glance when you feel like you need it. So you'll turn on the video and you'll dance with it while they're calling out the steps. Try to call it out for yourself as you need it. We just learned part 1A, and I'm going to repeat the same process with part 1B in this case, or with a different chunk. I'll do it until I have part 1 in its entirety. So we're still not doing the whole dance, but we are putting all of part 1 together. So now that we finished part 1, putting it all together and learning all of it, we're ready to try it with the music. Again, we're going to scroll forward to find that moment in the music where the music starts. So here's my video. I'm looking for my title again. Here it is. I'll pause it. So the first step is to watch part 1, the whole part 1, while calling out the steps and moving your feet in place. We did the same thing with the teach. Now we'll do it with the music. And again, it's an important process for learning and for memorizing. So let's watch it with the video. I'm going to call out part 1A and part 1B. So pretending that we learned it. So here we go. 1 o'clock, box on 2, yeah, midnight, rock, rock. Walk, walk, box on 2, yeah, midnight, rock, rock. Turn, cha-cha, cross the back, turn, cha-cha, cross the back, sway, and pivot. So they're repeating it. I'll repeat it with them, again, while moving my feet and calling out the steps. The next step is to try dancing it on your own with the music. With the video, again, putting it somewhere where you can see it, you can glance at it when you need it, but don't rely on it. So only when you need it. And that's it. So you finished learning part 1, and we're going to repeat this process for each of the parts. So now that I finished with part 1, I'm ready to chunk part 2 of the dance. So let's recap. The first thing we want to do after we're ready to go to part 2, we're ready to chunk it into smaller pieces. Each chunk we're going to watch the teach and call out the steps while moving our feet. And then we're going to try dancing it first on our own and then with the video while glancing when we need it. And the last step is to try the whole part with the music. So now that we've learned each of the parts of the dance separately, it's time to piece the whole dance together. And what we want to do first is, again, to watch the entire dance with the music and call out the steps and move our feet. So yes, we've done it for every single part, but now we want to put it all together. And again, this is important to transfer the dance into muscle memory. It's all part of the same process. So you're going to scroll back to the music, watch the whole dance, call out the steps, move your feet to it. And then you want to dance the entire dance with the music a few times, again, glancing at the video as you need it. And that's it. Congratulations. You now know the dance. So what should you do next? Try dancing the dance a few times in the coming week, each time relying on the video less and less, with the goal of not using it at all at the end. Try to request the dance at your next session, if that's possible, and keep dancing the dance at home every now and then when you can to keep it fresh in your mind. Remember that repetition is key. The more you dance the dance you just learned, the easier it will be for your body to remember it and to just go when the music is on and not even have to think of the steps. And that's really the goal of Israeli dance and what makes it so much fun. It actually allows your brain to rest while you dance and let your body take over. So thanks for watching and good luck. And if you have any questions, please feel free to contact me on any of the platforms. So have fun and keep dancing.